Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Velocity Sellers Podcast. I'm your host, Velocity Pete, and today we've got a error-filled episode for you, and I mean that literally because we're going to be talking about the various errors that occur on Amazon as a seller. So we're going to be getting into a little bit of opening an account, creating new listings, submitting flat files, all of the juicy tidbits that I have no doubt that every seller, if not 99.99% of sellers, have run into in their Amazon journey. With us today, I've got two familiar faces. We've got Eric and Lisa, both from Velocity Sellers, of course. Eric and Lisa, why don't you give us a quick intro on who you both are again and basically your qualifications.
Hi there, Pete. My name is Lisa Zadell. I'm Executive Director here at Velocity Sellers. I've been with Velocity Sellers. I'm in my 8th year, and I have been on Amazon since 2008, working with Amazon since 2008.
My name is Eric Peterson. I'm Director of Brand Management here at Velocity Sellers. Been here about 3.5 years. Been on Amazon about 7. And just kind of diving in today on these Amazon errors. I think we'll try to, it's very niche. A lot of these errors can be, so we're going to try to be as helpful without getting being as overwhelming as it can sometimes be.
Eric, the guiding hand, the gentle leadership. I love it. That's exactly. I wouldn't have said that. I would have said these errors are complicated and you're going to be frustrated, and that's fine. But I like that approach. I think that might be better for our viewers.
Amazon's already a frustrating place. We're here to try to be your soft blanket, maybe even a pillow in your Amazon journey to just give you as much soft guidance as we possibly can.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Maybe I would have said a weighted blanket though. I don't know if you guys use those, but I discovered I love weighted blankets.
Weighted blankets are fantastic, except for like when you're dehydrated, because then the weighted blanket will bend your toe back, and then you get that foot cramp, and then you're like on a weighted blanket, and you're just shaking. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
I say I can't relate. I drink I'll do a water bottle reveal, and yes, I say water. I'm from the area of Philadelphia. I drink about maybe like 6 or 7 of these a day. This is 32 ounces of water. So I am a hydro homie. I do not know the word dehydration. I just love water. I don't know the taste of it. The water does taste differently based on the brand. So
water is the worst drink. It's gross. It's the worst.
This is Eric. You're dropping in the ranking, dude. Last week you said something about not watching The Office. Now you're saying water is bad. Like the viewers are gonna tear you to shreds.
No. The non-water drinkers are just as strong as the hydro homies. You know what I mean? I drink 5, 6, 7, 8 glasses of coffee a day. Sometimes I'm drinking those Bang energy drinks. If I was still taking in sugar, I'd be slurping down those Mountain Dews all day long. It's the best.
Alrighty. Lisa, have you seen The Office? And Lisa, do you drink water on a daily basis?
I do, but I like to mix it up during the day. So I have coffee, I have tea, I have water. Sometimes I'll have a soda, but nothing really consistently. I mix it up all day long. That's fair.
And you have seen The Office,
I
right?
have.
Oh, good. Okay, better than Eric. Alrighty. So we'll get past Eric's errors and we'll look at Amazon's errors. So sorry, I thought that was too good to pass up on. Starting right at the beginning, let's take a look at errors that come with opening an account. And like I said, we'll keep this very vague. We'll kind of keep to the ones, the more common errors that we can, help with and take a look at. Lisa, what do we see error-wise and on a broad basis? What do we see when people want to open up an account? What do we see errors with right off the bat?
Yeah, so I think the biggest error that I see is when Amazon has difficulty connecting the dots between ownership and addresses and other information. So you'll often need a bank account, credit card statement, your business address. In most cases, Amazon will mail a verification postcard with a code to verify your address. And if those data points do not line up, it could cause some delay with opening up your account or some misunderstanding on who you are. We're all aware of the Inform Act now. And so your business information, your bank account statement, what you're entering into Amazon, all need to line up. So, for example, if you're incorporated, your documentation should say incorporated on all of your documents, or if you're LLC, or how you spell your business name, or capitalization, suite numbers. So all of those data points really do need to line up. Another thing that we see is when new sellers are trying to open up their account, sometimes they're using a debit card and not a credit card to establish that account. They might be outside of the country. Is your credit card authorized to take charges from inside of the United States? So we have seen that lately where there's been some difficulty with actually just verifying and processing the credit cards as well.
Yeah, interesting. I definitely know that was a point of contention for a couple of my accounts. Not only just obviously verifying the credit card, but making sure that either the charges don't, the credit card doesn't expire, or the charges go through okay, or any kind of like bounce back. I know that's definitely, in my opinion, one of the bigger errors to start with. Eric, anything else for opening an account and really just getting started?
Yeah, I mean, with like opening an account, like Lisa kind of covered most of everything, right? You got like, I think there's like 5 different steps to get through that. One of the things that I do notice though is like, okay, so now maybe your account creation aspirations were way ahead of your listing creation or getting your ducks in the row of what products we're going to sell on Amazon and all that kind of stuff. So if you open your Amazon account, let's say January 1st or whatever, and you don't start doing stuff until March, your account actually might be deactivated. And so when you start to go like, what the heck's going on? What's happening? It's only because there hasn't been any activity on the account. And to kind of fix that, and new accounts kind of run into this. I see this all the time while we're trying to like add listings and kind of optimize and do things. All we have to do is you go in there, up in the right-hand corner, you hit the little button down. I think it's like account info. And then I think you just re-add your credit card. Even if it's the same credit card, I believe you just say, click edit credit card, click the credit card, and then hit submit. And then after like 48 hours or something like that, you should be back online. But it does trigger some anxiety and some stress if you're not aware of that kind of shutdown.
So generally, definitely, you don't want to open an account until you're pretty much ready to go, right? I mean, that's like an easy fix, but I think maybe to save some of that stress and anxiety for the rest of your setup, you maybe would want to wait until all your ducks are in a row, or at least semi in a row.
Maybe. I mean, I would rather you have to reactivate your account than run into some of the problems that Lisa said. When you have a deadline, right? If maybe your boss is like, we're going to launch on April 1st, and then you wait until the last minute to make your account, and then suddenly you have these credit card issues or debit card issues, or you have to wait for an address confirmation. So get those accounts early, get all that, early stuff done and situated, and then just go from there. And if your account gets deactivated because you haven't had any activity on it, that's no big deal. Just go ahead and re-verify that credit card.
So we had a whole episode on brand registry, and we talked about the various errors that come about there. But very briefly, so to get more into the weeds on that topic, Lisa, what are some of the issues that we see with setting up a brand registry, adding any products to brand registry, and just really getting brand registered?
Yeah, so the number one thing that I see is that the brand name on the packaging varies just ever so slightly from the trademark name. So I had an issue where the capitalization was wrong, or it was actually 2 words, and on the packaging it was 1 word. So you do have to submit that when you register your brand. And so we just want to make sure that that however it's registered in the USPTO is how it is on the packaging. So that's number 1. Number 2, I a lot of times our clients do not think about creating a trademark in other countries. and they think that their US trademark will apply in Canada and the UK, and that is not the case. Amazon requires that you have a trademark in every country that you're going to do business with in order to do brand registry. Eric, did you have any other ideas on that?
I've seen some issues where like somebody goes to like get brand registered and the brand's already registered. That stuff doesn't happen very often. I don't think that's a thing that's going to take place anymore. I think Amazon's cracked down really heavily on that. But there has been some times where, in the past, if the company is like, 20 years old or something, there might have been somebody, a past employee that registered for brand registry, didn't tell anybody. That email's locked to the brand registry, and nobody can access brand registry. So I've seen some stuff like that. So when you do brand registry, when you like apply or set that up as the rights owner and the administrator of that account, what I would advise to do is make sure that it is like a generic email. So whether it's like Amazon@yourcompanyname.com, use that same email in your seller account as the main email, so you have both emails are matching. But then if you do have an employee that does leave, you don't lose that access, because I've seen that it's sometimes they're very nice and you just text the person, hey, how you doing? Hey, you got that code? And I've seen horror stories on the other side of things as well. And what else? Nothing. Like I said, we're gonna do a soft approach here, so nothing else that I'd like to get into. But yeah. So if your account's never been on Amazon, it's probably gonna be a nice, smooth, intro. But if you are having some issues, you can always reach out to the Amazon program to help get your trademark brand registered and all that kind of stuff. Or I guess get your business trademarked and then get brand registry. So, but also I think you can get an Amazon rep too when you build out that new account right away to help. But I'm not 100% on that. I don't know if that's for every new account. Lisa, is that just agency rep, or do they get a brand new rep? Can't remember.
That's a good question. I haven't seen every new account get a rep. So I think most of the time it flows through the agencies.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're with Velocity Sellers and you want to open up an account, we can get someone from Amazon attached to your account. Very cool stuff now, yeah. I know that brand rep has been very instrumental, crucial, whatever adjective you want to say, to getting a lot of accounts that we've worked with open. So definitely it makes it easier. It's what I've seen than having just to do it kind of on your own and kind of poke around in the dark. So yeah. All right. On brand registry still. Let's say you're brand registered, your account's open, you're ready to go. You're ready to start adding products. What are some of the errors we see with adding products to your now registered brand? It can be anything from, the product's already in Amazon's catalog and you have to kind of steal it back, or just Amazon won't take the product, or it puts the product in a different category. Anything, Eric, that we see very commonly, and how do we go about fixing those errors?
Yeah. So it depends. So if you are, 1P, you own the business, you trademark and all that stuff, you can run into some issues. Like maybe you didn't realize one of your products is already on Amazon. So you might end up adding a listing, and then like the UPC is already on Amazon. I think we talked about this last time, where you check your UPC on Amazon before you list your products. But anyway, if you don't do that, it might give you, I think it's like and I'm going to forget, 8541 error, where it'll say something no, that's not right. Anyway, there's an error message that like it's in a 4-digit code starting with an 8, that'll trigger and just say that's like this ASIN already exists. It'll block you from that. So then you're going to have no choice to go to that specific ASIN and then use that ASIN to get into Amazon. There is, and if you're like a 3P seller and you're kind of just selling arbitrage, you might run into, I think it's a 500 level error. I think it was, where Amazon will make you ask for approval to sell that product. So there's going to be some brand gating that kind of comes through. So that can happen as well. And you're going to have no choice but to actually click the ask for approval. That email from Amazon goes to the brand owner, and then they are going to decide to give you any, give you access to their brand, which they probably won't do if they don't recognize you. So be mindful of that before you buy a pallet of goods, on a hot deal at the, unclaimed freight store down the street. But yeah, so I guess those are some common things that come up. If you're going to do, not to like take all the goodies and the easy ones, but if you're going to do something with a file upload, to create all your listings, Amazon does a pretty good job. So, when you do that file upload, it'll say, Lisa, help me out. Is it approved or success? And if it's wrong, it says, I think I wrote it down for the just
download your template.
Download processing summary or action required.
Yes.
Yes.
I was close.
Yeah. So if you're looking, so when you do a manual load of a listing, you get that error code, and you're like, what the heck does that mean? You can search that error code. Amazon has a pretty good database on kind of helping you along. But if you do a file upload, there is a tab at the bottom that says feed processing summary, and then it'll tell you the type of error, and then there's going to be a number, and then there's going to actually be a little bit of an explanation for what the reason is. Most of the file upload issues, if they're not the bad ones that we kind of talked about, where it's like a UPC or a brand issue, it might just be a data point that category needs to have for that listing to be created. So it's kind of pretty easy. You just look at that and then just go back into your spreadsheet. I think it even highlights it red. Just put that data in, resubmit. You should be good to go. But I will pass it back to Lisa, because I know Lisa's had a lot of experience with this kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, well, one of the things I think you need to watch out for more than ever is make sure that you're building your ASIN with complete data. That means country of origin. That means shipping weight, shipping size dimensions, product size dimensions. And so if those data fields are skipped, it does two things. Number one, you're probably eventually going to have a suppression on that ASIN, but it also can allow a 3P to slide in the back end on that listing and make changes, because what the 3P could do is come in if you don't have country of origin, and they can kind of sneak in there and update your data because a field is missing that was supposed to be there, that was required. So we really want to have complete information. And then it's our policy to try and load new ASINs complete from the start with an optimized title, bullet points, description, image stack, because it's becoming harder and harder to go back and make those updates. And so it's just better to start out an ASIN complete from the beginning than just throwing some data in there and then going back a week or two later and then trying to update it. Because as I've mentioned, it's really becoming difficult. Amazon's system is retaining onto data more than ever.
Yeah, especially with a lot of these changes coming probably around the summertime, on like looking at how Amazon's going to, how people are going to find your products, and how Amazon's going to kind of use their algorithm to kind of present your products to people based on what they're looking for. Now more than ever, data and how the customer perceives your product is super important on Amazon. So yeah, we don't want to run into any errors with that. And again, especially with these new changes approaching, more to come on that from Velocity sellers. But sticking with the topic today of the errors. So, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like getting everything set up is crucial. Like I kind of mentioned with your account, you kind of maybe want to have your ducks in a row, as long as you're not being rushed by anybody. But okay, let's say we have the listings created. Let's say we're brand registered and the account's open and a partridge in a pear tree. Let's say you're creating the listings, right? You upload your bullet points and your images. What are some errors that we can find when we do that? I know there's some things that obviously you can't make claims about on Amazon, and maybe some of the images aren't going to be accepted by Amazon, especially for like looking at the main image. Like Lisa, what do we see, disease claim wise, and any prohibited kind of claims can we not make on Amazon?
Yeah, so regarding images, the minimum is 1,000 by 1,000. However, that's not great for zoomability. So we want to make sure that we like to do around 2,000 by 2,000, but you want to have an image that is zoomable. It needs to be on a white background, pure white, bright white. And if you have parts, or maybe there's more than one item that is in that main image, we like to overlay. So, for example, if you had a toothbrush and toothpaste and they were sold together, we try to overlay those two products so that it doesn't get rejected, because it can see that secondary product like in the background. So some images are really, really important, especially the main image. And then as far as claims, so Amazon's AI can read not only written words, but it can, from what we understand and see, also read images and A+. And so if you have a claim in your images, like this will prevent a disease, it can be rejected and your whole listing can get suppressed, even if the claim is in an image. So just be aware of that. And then there's all types of claims that we could make about our products that are inaccurate. And so we always want to just be very conservative when we're saying, this can heal something or cure something. So it makes you feel better. It cures depression. One time I saw a weighted blanket, actually going back to the weighted blanket, where they said that it can, make you feel better and helps with depression. And that's not really what a blanket can do. So we just need to be really careful. And I'm sure Eric has some other examples.
My weighted blanket makes me feel better. That's all I'm going to say. But obviously for Amazon, you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eric, do you have anything like?
Yeah, the Lisa kind of hit most of them, but make sure that your image is the right size. If it's too small, it's going to get rejected. Be careful of what's in your images, even if you're selling like adult products or products that deal with guns and things. You have to be careful of what you're showing. Like you can't just have fill in the blank, right? You can't just like have inappropriate images. So be careful there. Wild marketing claims, like this is the best product ever. Like you can't really say that. Amazon will kind of shut you down there a little bit. If you do have, I guess I'm just kind of repeating exactly what Lisa said. So there's not, she did a really good job. She covered most of the things. But yeah, there's like, if we move into the other kind of areas of the listing, titles, if you go over character limit, bullets, if you go over character limit, each category will have a character limit. And then it works the same way. If you have, crazy marketing claims or disease cure claims or anything like that, it's the same kind of thing. Your listing will get taken down. You might get reclassified incorrectly if you have the wrong verbiage on the listing too. That can always that's
into a new category.
Thing. Yeah, I mean, like if you're doing
really,
yeah.
I don't know. Let's say I got a client that sells, their title is kitchen sink handlebars for bikes, right? Amazon scans it and sees kitchen sink. Now you're in the kitchen category. They don't understand that it's for bikes, so they move you. So you got to be kind of mindful of that. Be careful of that. I have lots of stories on that. Even
wow.
So even in your R&D stages, if you're just an Amazon seller and you're trying to grow your brand or whatever, and you're creating new products, keep that in mind. I mean, if you do, want to change your product's name to, outside of your niche, or, in this case, kitchen sink, it's just like a very utility handlebar. It's a great handlebar. It's a great product. It's just, unfortunately, Amazon will scrape it, grab that kitchen sink and move it to the wrong category. And then you got category fights and things like that. So,
so how do you fix that for this partner? How do you put him back in the outdoor sports category?
Cases. And then you just got to get the right person on the phone to show them the listing. And then they go, oh, I understand. And then they fix it for you. But normally
we're going to get into the Amazon help desk, and I won't say my joke that I have about it. But I definitely want to get into opening cases and kind of going about how, or going over how you can find the right person to kind of give you what you need based on how you phrase the case. But that's for later in the episodes. Stay tuned.
But I guess, I mean, it's kind of what Lisa's kind of saying too, though. So like, you know, if your brand name's different from your trademark, you have images. So like it all kind of has to work together. If you have some, like maybe some claims, you want to make sure that you have those claims in your imagery. You know, like if going into A+, we had an issue a long time ago. If you make a claim, the A+ might get rejected, but then if you add like trying to think of like you know, like a scientific study was performed, and then you just say the name of the study and the date, that usually fixed that problem. I haven't really had many of those recently. I don't know, Lisa, are you up to speed on any of the A+ issues like that? I haven't had one in a while.
For sure. So, anytime that you say that it was like tested or certified, we have a lot of rejections because we say we're biodegradable or environmental claims. And so you have to watch out, because then you're going to say they're going to want you to prove that you are really biodegradable. So, another thing that happens with A+, it's really frustrating, is if your ASIN isn't connected to your brand correctly, you can't publish that A+. And there's this back end node that exists that we can't see. And so sometimes you'll get that it's rejected, and you just have to go back in to fix that node. So that's a case. You'll have to create a case to get that node attached to your brand. So you got to keep an eye on that as well.
Hey,
yeah,
Lisa,
very interesting. Well,
I'm sorry to cut you off there, Pete. Lisa, have you had? I haven't got a lot of experience on it, but I know that new image, the new image uploader on Amazon, has that been helpful with that kind of situation where it's like not connected to the brand, or it has some, like, instead of going to the back end of your listing, you can go to the image uploader, and I think it does show what's wrong with the problem, or if you have a problem. Like if your listing's suppressed because of imagery, I think it gives a good explanation. But like I haven't recently had any issues there, so I'm just kind of, Lisa, have you seen anything like that?
That tool is amazing. It actually provides a lot of clarity where there was once no clarity. So that it so it's under the catalog tab, and you can also see if your brand registry badge is there. So if your badge is missing when you look up your ASIN, then you know you have a node problem or it's not attached to your brand correctly. And then it also gives a lot of information if your images are rejected.
Very cool. Wow. Well, I actually had another question on images and bullet points. I know I've seen some of these little things that aren't necessarily within terms of service, but I know some people will put like emojis at the start of their bullet points. And in the main image, where it should just be the product with a white background, sometimes like if you're selling coffee, sometimes they'll have attached to the product, so like overlapping the product, so if they're touching like coffee beans or like a cup of like a mug to pour the coffee in. Are these technically like not allowed? Are these loopholes that Amazon's missing? Like what's going on there, Eric?
Yeah. Yes and no. I think you can do some of this stuff. I think in the image you can have a main image. I would have to really go back and double check this, but I think you can have a main image that's in real life as long as the product's in use. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like if it's like a giant, if it was like a giant, because I've seen them, but maybe they've changed the policy. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker here, but I thought you could do like a lifestyle image if you have like a big trampoline and you have some kids jumping on it. I think you can, but maybe I'm way off. Maybe that's changed. Lisa, help me out here. Is that like a no, a big one? Normally it's got to be white background with no text. But I thought you could do lifestyle. But anyway, that I'll let Lisa answer that right now. Just verify if I'm right or wrong. But I do have another situation that I would like to talk about, though, after Lisa corrects me. I think she will.
I think some categories are grandfathered in and they allow it. However, it is our recommendation to always have a white background.
Yep. Okay, awesome. I know it wasn't crazy, but I wasn't sure. But like real quick, I did one of my old jobs. We were doing diabetic cases, and in the diabetic case, we had an EpiPen. It was just like to show items, and then I think it was like a tester and stuff, some other diabetic supplies, just to kind of show. And the listing went down, and we couldn't get it back up because they kept asking for an SDS, which is manufacturer safety data sheet, and they were like, and I'm like, it's a bag. It doesn't it doesn't need it. But what they were actually looking at was your background performers to make your product look good. So they thought Amazon didn't know that you weren't selling the EpiPen and the other devices, and they wanted SDSs for that. So that could be a potential error if you're dressing the set, so to speak, to make it a real more connection to your customer. It can actually harm you, and sometimes when your listing goes down, check to see if that could be there's might be an item in those pictures or those images that could potentially be the culprit.
Interesting. And then same thing with the bullet points. Like, you can technically use emojis. Like, I don't know if that's just taking up character space, where you could be putting.
I mean, emojis,
right? I guess
look ticky tacky.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't buy a weighted blanket that had emojis in their bullet points. I'll say that.
I agree.
Interesting. Okay. They're technically not allowed, but people still, they're not like, if Amazon scrapes your listing and finds an emoji, they're not going to ban you from selling.
They might. I mean, so there's...
Oh, wow.
There's a product detail page rules violation. So you can type that in the search bar. It'll bring up it's a whole help page. And then it'll say certain things. It'll kind of have different rules. And what'll end up happening is if you're in violation in your account health, it'll say, what's the policy? Sorry. Product detail page rules. Or no. Sorry. Violation. Product detail page violation. Apologies there. And it won't describe anything. So you'll have to go and then look at this page, and then you're going to have to go through your listing on your own. So I've had in the past some of the marketing claims that we just kind of discussed earlier could be part of it. And some of them aren't going to be like screaming like this is the problem. Some of them are very subtle, and you might not even notice it yourself. You might just be like, well, my product does do this thing, but it's still a claim, and you still need to back that up with evidence. So Amazon can take your listing completely down, or they might just remove bullet points. They might remove your description. They just might remove your content. So you want to make sure that you're following those policies. And if you do see that account health error, just kind of have to go through, and I think they are starting to crack down on some like HTML. If you want to make your description look a little bit more clean instead of just like one long run-on sentence, and you have like bulleted lists and stuff, that is a violation. So, but yeah, pass it over to Lisa. I'm sure she's got some experience on that as well.
Yeah, recently I've seen excessive capitalization. So we like to start our bullet point with capital letters, and capitalize the first couple of words. And then also Amazon doesn't like symbols, especially the and symbol. It can come out kind of wonky on in the back end, and it prints out kind of funky on invoices and packing slips and things like that. So I try to stay away from a lot of the symbols as well.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it than I think a lot of the sellers, a lot of our viewers realize that. Maybe they're doing that to save some character space. I know it's only 2 characters, but they might run into some issues there.
Well, what's also interesting though too. So like, I noticed that most categories that I've checked have increased their bullet points from 5 to 10. So if you are an emoji person, go nuts. You got 10 bullet points. you got
Wow.
more room for your emojis, but yeah, that's, I know we're not talking about that, but if you do have access to 10 bullet points, I highly recommend that you utilize those 10 bullet points, because it's just more SEO, more consumer education, more is better. So fill that stuff out.
I say it's more ways for you to describe your product to kind of play into the new Rufus tool that's coming. To kind of play into that and be like, okay, this is exactly what my product is. This is exactly how you're going to use it. This is exactly, what the intended use is for. This is the situation that you'd use. All this more information. Like I said, more is absolutely better, especially with this, again, new way to kind of rank and search coming. It's very, very cool. Very cool. I want to finish up by talking about the Amazon help desk and opening a case, and kind of any hacks that we found to get you connected with the right person to make the correct adjustment to whatever issue you're having. I know there's different departments and stuff within the help center. So, Eric, we're making it. We need to make a ticket. What's our first step?
Be as concise and detailed without being verbose, which is really hard for me. So,
as our viewers know,
yeah, exactly. So, what you want to do is just be like, hi, ASIN XYZ issue, and you're out, right? And then make sure that you are, filling out the description, so that way you're for your own file. So like when you get an email in, it has, what that issue is, and that way you don't have to memorize what your case ID is. So what I like to do is just say, the issue hyphen ASIN. So then when I have to go and search for different case numbers and stuff, I can just pop in the ASIN. But the best path forward is just make sure that you identify the ASIN, identify the issue, and then make sure that you're identifying what you would like to happen, depending on what the situation is. You should have a what I would like to see, but sometimes you might not know what you'd like to see, but mainly is ASIN and a short description. Oh, and screenshots. Lots of screenshots.
And one of the things that happens to me is if I have a case that has a lot of back and forth, you'll notice that the person responding to the case can be different from one response or one day to the next. And I have encountered where the Amazon rep cannot see comments from previous back and forth communication. And so I try to restate every time all of the information. And if you have a screenshot, reattach those screenshots. Because if you have a case that has a lot of back and forth, let's say 10 times, you could get several different reps inside of that case. And I also will sort of surrender and close that case and start fresh if I feel like it's spiraling in a direction that it just canned answer after canned answer. Sometimes it's just better to abandon and start over from scratch. And I've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah, I definitely have done that personally myself. Sometimes out of frustration, not so much out of, all right, let's try again. I also on the phone, I've definitely called them a lot more, I think, when I was brand manager, than I emailed, just because I felt like that was definitely the way to go, was to say, okay, like I want to get on the phone with someone right now and figure this out. But I don't think that's the case. I have to retract my former belief there. I do think emailing is the best way, just to give them time to figure out what the problem is, and help you fix it. So
I'll jump on that. So I do like to, sometimes if I do have a lot of like screenshots and stuff, what I'll do is I'll start the case with an email, send that on, and then when they give me a response back, then I will call in. And then you have that option to add screenshots, because if you call in directly, no screenshot option. No, you can't do a file up, you can't, maybe you have an Excel sheet or whatever, maybe it's a file feed that they want. But also one of the biggest things that I highly advise is be kind. Be very kind. I don't care how frustrated you are. I know that it could be $30,000, maybe $50,000, whatever that ASIN is, whatever that's costing you. I understand that you're going to have a bad day and you want to take your day out on Amazon, but like, you're coming from experience, they don't like it. So just be as kind as possible. And you're gonna find, what's the saying? You're gonna find you get more bees with honey than vinegar.
There was vinegar.
Is that right? Is vinegar?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah. So that's one thing. I mean, they got a hard job. They're working real. They're dealing with all kinds of people. and they're not going to move any faster by how loud you speak to them. So just be patient, be as kind as you can, and just be as concise as you can. And then the other thing too, when you're on the phone with them, ask some questions, like pay attention to what they're saying. So there's certain verbiage that Amazon internally uses. And if you can learn that verbiage, so if you have like a consistent issue that comes along and you discover that they're saying something different than what you're saying, try to pay attention to that and then ask them, like, what does that mean? Is that something that all Amazon associates understand? And then they'll tell you, like, yeah, this is what that is. And so then the next time that you have to build that case, you use that verbiage and you're going to expedite a lot of these cases. You're going to expedite a lot of this kind of process, and which saves you time in the weeds and frees up your time to go, cash those checks. So just be mindful of how they talk, and then just kind of pick it up and ask questions. And most of them will be helpful.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Eric. And I also have asked them to reference the link to the Amazon policy that they're referring to. And so, because they're, they have their script, and then I go into that link and I really read it slowly and try to understand it. And a lot of times I'll be like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. I see it right there, but we don't take advantage of the information sometimes that's right in front of us.
Yeah, I definitely found more success being nicer to them than I did being like, why is this not working? Being all mad. Absolutely. They are just employees. It's not like they're not causing the error on their end. So absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for this amazing episode on errors and kind of how to solve them, how to get around them. Any final thoughts for our viewers on this topic and really just Amazon errors in general? Error-ick?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yep.
See what I did there with errors?
You crushed it. I always impressed, Pete. You always come through at the end there. So don't, like, all these errors that you're gonna get, you're not alone. Somebody's already had a problem. Like if you're doing it right now, somebody's already had it. So Google it. Look up the error code. Amazon forums. Be careful in there. But there's possibly good information there. If you do go into the forums, just double check to make sure the time. So like something that was working in 2017 might not be working now in 2024. So be very, very careful of that. Even when you Google it, you might even want to click the old tools and then click a time frame, maybe this year, this week, or 24 hours. Use those Googling skills. And read, like what Lisa said, kind of read up a little bit first if you and try to resolve it yourself before you go in to the case management, because sometimes you're going to be waiting 48 hours. That you're in charge of your own level of involvement, as they say. So if you can find some of those answers, you can kind of work through those yourself.
My tips are, I like to create my cases at the end of the day so that when I come in the next morning, I might have an answer, and it helps to move things along. I also believe that persistence beats resistance, and you have to stay diligent, follow up on those cases, or whatever it might be. And I also like to process of elimination. So if I'm not sure what's happening with an ASIN, I will isolate the changes and do changes one at a time, so that I can figure out, if I don't know what's triggering the error. If you change 5 things and none of them work, then it's better to go one by one. Like, is it a title issue? Check, no, title's fine. Is it a bullet point issue? Is it an A+ issue? And so you just kind of have to go down through one by one until you resolve it.
I love that idea. I want to jump on that for a second. I'm sorry. I love that idea, especially if you have like multiple ASINs with the same problem. I like to try different, like ASIN 1, make a case in one direction, ASIN 2, make a case in the other direction, see which one gets resolved first, and then you just duplicate that success. So it's very similar to what Lisa...
A/B test?
Yeah, it's like an A/B case test.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yep.
And my final tip is I'm going to steal Eric's line that is all completely original to him. Just be kind. Eric, that might go down as one of the best lines in history.
I can't. I think that's Bill and... Isn't it Bill and Ted? I stole it from Bill and Ted.
Put down on Bill and Ted. Yeah. Put it on a pillow. Put it on t-shirts. Put it on merch. Yeah. Just be kind. Your answer, I think, and this is really just for life advice, your answer comes more from, what did you say, Lisa? Persistence rather than frustration?
Resistance.
Or
persistence beats resistance. And so we know that Amazon can give us a lot of resistance. And so we just need to be diligent and keep trying.
Just like a true podcast host, I'm going to steal the words of my guests and claim them as my own. No. As you can see, folks, we've got two geniuses on here today. Not just about Amazon and about life. So, guys, thanks so much for being on here. Thanks for all the tips, all the tidbits. I'm sure I'll see you back for another episode. And yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. I'm Velocity Pete, and we will see you next time.